Hi, this is Craig Stocks. I had some questions the other day about adding color to monochrome images from a monochrome Astro camera, and I promised to do a video explaining how I did it. And as I started laying out the information, I realized it would probably be better to do a series of short videos to lay some of the foundation. So in this first video, I'm going to talk a little bit just about the Photoshop interface. Well, if you're already familiar with Photoshop, you may want to just skip this video and skip ahead to the second one in the series, which will cover the structure of an image. The third video will actually get into some of the details of using Photoshop and some of the tools that we'll be using. Finally, in the fourth video, we'll put those tools to use adding color to monochrome images. And one of my main motives for doing this is to try to simplify the process. I see a lot of videos on YouTube that are doing things I feel the hard way, and I want to show easier ways to accomplish some of the same or better results. And then the fifth video, we'll talk about blending colors from multiple filters or multiple different colors in an image. So with that, let's move ahead. And so this first one, we're going to just talk about the Photoshop interface. So this is Photoshop. And the basic layout, you can choose different workspaces. This is the Essentials workspace. On the left, we have tools, and these are generally tools that you control with the mouse or the mouse pointer. Things like cropping, choosing a color, a paintbrush where you would actually paint on the image. So these are cursor tools. The menu across the top gives you access to different commands. So things like load, save, changing the mode of an image, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the second video. Those commands are found up here. On the right-hand side, we have the Properties panel, which shows us the properties of the currently selected layer. We have the Adjustment Layers panel, which both of these are very useful. And then at the bottom we have what's called the Layers panel or the layer stack. When you have more than one layer, you'll see more than one layer in this stack. And generally you're going to be looking at whatever's on top in the different layers, or looking down through the layers. The main principle that I try to follow is something that I learned years ago working with Photoshop, and that's the value of non-destructive editing. And basically what non-destructive editing means is you can undo what you've done or redo, change your mind, and you're not actually changing any pixels until you finally commit to the final image. So some of the practices like compressing or combining layers early in your workflow, merging those layers, merging visible layers, drawing or making adjustments directly on a pixel-bearing layer, all those things are destructive, and you're actually changing the values of the underlying pixels. And much like if you make a Xerox copy of a page over and over and over, the quality of the copies begins to deteriorate. The same happens to the pixels. As you make changes, you are changing the pixels, and if you try to change back, you won't get back to exactly where you started if you have a destructive type of workflow. With a non-destructive workflow, you can change pixels, change back, change your mind, undo everything, and you've never committed anything into those final pixels until you create a JPEG to post to the internet or make a print or something. So as I go through these tutorials, the principle that I'm going to be applying is using non-destructive editing techniques wherever it's practical. Now you can take it to an extreme so that you never make any changes. That's not always practical, and for instance, I frequently will remove a dust spot from a photo. I have never felt the urge to put that dust spot back. So there are times when you do destructive edits, but the main things, if you keep your options open so you can always go back and change your mind, that will give you more flexibility in editing and eventually result in better images. So I think with that, I'll wrap up the tour of the basics of the layout in Photoshop, and in the next video we'll look at the structure of an image.